If you want more power, better vision, and a bulletproof mindset, then I would like to welcome you to CG Plus, Complete Games Online Player Development Center. Now, baseball and softball players of all ages and skill levels can access a multimedia experience providing education and instruction on your personal mobile platform. Rob Cruz has put together an online video portal, a remote hitting program, as well as a series of online hitting courses boasting a curriculum that features pitch recognition strategies, power, video analysis, mental skills, and then some. For more info, log on to www.cg.plus. That's www.cg.plus to find out how you can complete your game today.
What's up, everybody? This is Rob Cruz. This is Transcending Sport Podcast. I'm your host. Our guest is Coach Kim Wright. She is the owner of West Coast Softball Academy in Vancouver. Coach Kim, long time no see. Welcome to the show.
Thank you very much. Nice to be here, Rob.
So I want to start off because it's been a long time since we've even, had a little chit chat, and I've been looking forward to this. I mean, we talked a little bit on the phone a few months back because we had some similar interest with some players and stuff, trying to get them situated with some teams and some pitching coaches and stuff. So I wanted to. We've been talking about getting you on the podcast. Finally got you. I'm excited because some people just don't realize how big the game of softball is. Sometimes we look at softball as in our own little state, our own little region, and then our own little country, right?
Yeah.
But there's a whole big global thing happening with regards to the game of fast pitch softball that's happening worldwide, and you're the perfect person to talk to because you've been everywhere. You've been. Do you have a count of how many countries you've been to?
I've been to four or five countries coaching softball.
That's
so Italy, Venezuela, Dominican Republic, coached Greece, and Canada, and then coached a little bit in the U.S. here and there, and just having fun.
That's great. That's great stuff. So tell us, how'd you get? First of all, obviously you played. I want you to talk, if you could, a little bit about your playing career. And then I want to walk us to where you are now, and then I want to go into some other stuff too. So,
yeah, I started out in a very small town down in Nova Scotia. So softball is very important to me because it kind of saved my life. It kind of got me out of a bad situation, like as a child, kind of a dysfunctional situation. Yeah. So basically started there, and somehow I gravitated to softball, and it kind of brought me to, I played as a kid there and basically moved out to British Columbia because of softball. Yeah. A team out here brought me out to play softball, and that was life-changing for me. I was kind of like a little fish in a big pond here, so I played a little bit, but I was an average player, but then coaching at 22. I went into coaching at 22 out here, and my career in life just changed pretty much from there. And so I have a huge passion for softball just because it really did change my life for the better.
That's good. So after your playing career, how'd you get into coaching?
I started at 22, so my playing career, I had a bad coach out here, and so I was like, okay, I'm going to go back into coaching. So I started as an assistant coach here, and I remember jumping up and down on the coach one day when they called me and told me I was going to be the assistant to some minor team, some like kids team here. So got excited, and then I started coaching the kids, and then I started to like it more, and then I ended up opening my own business, West Coast Softball Academy, in 1996.
Wow.
And so I opened up a training facility here and did well. I worked for the government as well, so I was doing double duty in that job. So I was doing that for passion and government work for work. And so I got to live my dream in softball. And so I opened up my facility, and 3 years later, Softball Canada asked me to go do some pitching coaching in Venezuela, and ended up in Venezuela doing some coaching the pitching, and they asked me to be their national team coach, which then started a whole bunch of coaching opportunities.
Right, and that's good. And that was your first. You had a couple of different stints with Venezuela, am I right? It was off and on, off and on.
Yeah, I was there in '99 till 2005.
Yep.
And then they let me go then, and then they hired me back in 2009 when they were holding the World Championships. So their country was about to hold the World Championships in 2010. So they hired me back in 2009 till 2011. Just due to money and stuff, obviously hiring outside coaches. And then when they were going back, they hired me back 2012 or 2013 for another couple of years. So I off and on with them.
That's good. That's good. So and now you're currently in Vancouver at the academy. What's the I mean, so it was difficult, and because I started around 98, 99, so. It wasn't the same. Obviously, there was no social media. So in order for you to be able to gain traction and get the word out and get the information as a softball coach, like to keep yourself on the cutting edge and learning all the new things that were happening in softball and pitching and being able to put yourself and set yourself apart, what was that like? And what were some of the things that you had to do that at a time when it was really, the internet was still young?
Well, that was like when I first opened, 96 to probably 2005. I was bringing in people like you and trying to find the cutting edge instructors to try to bring them up to Canada to try to help our kids as much as possible. So at that time, it was a lot of clinics with people that I had known, and people would come up and help me and staying updated then. And, with the national team, I had a lot of good contacts in that way. Through the national team coaches. So, they offered me a lot of help at that time. So, and then since the internet has come up, it helps a lot, but you still got to know the information you're looking at. There's a lot of bad information on there. So I still rely a lot on my experts and friends in the area to help my kids. And I'm a big supporter of giving my kids as many different voices as possible to help them, because I don't think one person can be everything for them. That's so true. I still bring in clinicians all the time just to give them a different voice and a different way of looking at things.
Yeah, I think that's good. I think it's always good. I think it's always good to consult with people who also don't agree with you.
Absolutely.
Because then you can learn. You can learn some different things, rather than only surrounding yourself with people who just agree with you. I mean, it's like, hey, talk to me about how you're doing this. I want to get some insight and be open minded. I think that's also the key. That's been the key for my success is me being able to look at someone else and someone to be doing something that I'm like totally don't understand, especially if they're successful. There's a lot of different ways to be successful.
Exactly. And it challenges you as a coach to stay updated, because if they come in with a bunch of new information and you kind of look like you're left behind, the kids will see that too. So it challenges you to stay updated with the athletes.
That's good stuff. So how is it possible? Okay, international softball, the biggest, I guess the biggest event or the thing that just kind of draws the most hype is usually the Olympics, right? When we think international softball, the first thing you think of is Olympic softball, the Olympic level, or that event, right? But there's more to it. Obviously, you guys aren't just sitting around the world waiting for the Olympics, and then you get ramped up again. So, what is that culture like, being in a country like Canada? And for some of us, we don't even look at really Canada because it's so close to America. It's almost it's almost very similar, but it's not. But it's almost similar, but it's not. What are some of the differences and similarities? Because you've been in the U.S., you've been in the States, you've been in Canada. It's close. You're on the West Coast, so you're really close to what I call the Mecca of softball, which is the West Coast. what are some of the things or the differences and similarities, and what differences do you think how you benefit, and what are some of the similarities that you benefit from as being in Canada?
Well, I mean, our population of softball community is much, much smaller, right? And so, I mean, for us to be able to come down and play the American teams helps our game develop up here a lot because we're so close. So we get the chance to come in and play in Seattle or LA or whatever, which gives our kids the opportunity to play at that higher level.
Yeah.
And I think then it gives them that opportunity to also see the level of play.
Yes.
Because I still feel our level of play is not comparable yet, right? Like we have a good national team program, but a lot of those players were developed through the universities in the U.S.
Yes.
And so I think we just got to keep working together to keep moving our programs up here to just keep getting stronger, things like that. And then back into Venezuela, again, their opportunities are very small, but around the world, that yes, they want to go to the Olympics, but a lot of their players actually are getting university educations by just playing the game of softball. So, the Olympics is great, but it's actually impacting a lot of players from Canada and Venezuela to give them opportunities of education, travel, and development in different ways as well. So, that being the pinnacle, I think the growth of the game and the things that softball offer in the game is much bigger than just the Olympics.
Right. Is men's fast pitch big in Canada?
I can't answer this for sure. It used to be. We don't have a lot of younger men playing. I know that the older generation of men were really, really good. Like we used to be world champions and things like that. I see that transferring over. I see the men's program in Venezuela getting really, really good because the Major League Baseball players come out of there and come back and play. And I'm not sure the status of the men's game in Canada right now. I know we still have a national team, and I think still very competitive, but we don't have a lot of younger boys playing it.
Okay, I got you. Because I saw a lot of the. It seems that a lot of the younger women's baseball is bigger in Canada than it is in the States. I saw.
They do a good job.
I see that there's a lot of women's baseball, and it's popular, like really popular, as in comparison to the United States.
Right.
And how many women's baseball players come over from baseball and then pick up softball? And is it a big number? And if so, like about what age does that happen?
Again, I don't know a lot about the baseball program, but I see a lot of athletes, younger athletes, maybe up to 12 or 13, and they develop really nicely in that program. I see a lot of young softball players that come out of the baseball program over to softball, and they have some really nice skill sets. So I probably see them transferring over if I do see them around that 13, 14-year-old age, because there's no call. I don't think there's college baseball for women yet, but the softball opportunities are huge for us up here still. So I think around that 14, 15-year-old, we start to see that the transition of that, and I think playing baseball at a younger age has helped a lot of them.
So how's the recruiting game work? Because obviously I think a lot of the Canadian young ladies on your side of Canada, on the west side, on the west coast, are probably looking at the Washingtons, the Oregons, those teams that are really close to where the border is, I think.
Yeah.
Am I accurate? And so how does it's got to be a little bit of a challenge on the recruiting side. And if so, how does that work? And what are some of the strategies that you're employing with either getting players on teams in the States or getting the Canadian teams in the tournaments in the States, so that the young ladies can get the exposure that they need to become recruitable for NCAA play?
So I have an athlete right now that basically is number 3 in your country. Is being recruited by all the top schools in your country on official visits right now. So what we try to do is, for those players that are in that elite level, we try to get them on U.S. teams, so that they get that opportunity of being seen by the college coaches that we're trying to get seen by. So that's helped us a lot, because we put Morgan on the Georgia Impact, which really helped her become. Nobody knew who she was, because it was just before COVID, and after COVID, nobody knew her name in the U.S. So once we got her into there, everybody started knowing who she was, and her rankings went from 0 to, or not even knowing who she was, to number 3 in the top 24.
Exactly.
So that was a start for us to start to understand how to do some of these things. So I see that in the future is, like, the top 5%, 10%, we start playing with their teams here, but getting them on schools down or teams down there to help be seen more. And then basically our coaches do a really nice job here of getting the other kids into tournaments in California and into Florida and stuff, to try to get that other 10% in the middle into schools that where they should be going. So we've been trying to work together as a group here to really highlight our top 10% for those schools, and then our middle to get them into the schools, the mid majors, stuff like that. So it is a bit of a challenge, but we do our best to get our key, and we've been doing pretty good. We've got a kid in, I think, Oregon State with Grace Mesner, right? And then we've had Danielle and Jen and all those guys get to good schools. So seems to be working now, right?
That's right. Yeah, it's good. It's becoming that this global thing, and I think, and this is why I think it's important that people get to hear people like you talk about the game, because I feel like we don't talk about the global game enough until it's Olympic time. But there's a whole process that's happening of development: 12U, 10U, 14U, 16U, 18U, travel ball. You got to get them. You got to get. I don't know how it works. But you got to get obviously to have the passport, and then you got to get. It's probably a lot of channels, probably a lot of different things that have to happen to get a kid in and out of the country. In and out of going across the borders and things like that. It's probably a lot of different things that have to happen in terms of paperwork, and it's got to be tough with international flight. It's got to be exhausting.
Yeah, I think the parents who are it's a lot of money for the parents. Again, because we're traveling, I think it's a lot of money for the parents. It's a lot of commitment. It's a lot of it's interesting because a lot of the college coaches ask me, because we have a short season up here, and so we do more training than playing, and I think that actually benefits our younger athletes. So we'll train from October through till March, right, and then basically then they'll play theirs. From March till end of August. So they're only playing probably 80 to 100 games, maybe. That might be high, maybe 50 to 80 games. When they're younger, that 10U, 11U, or 12Us, up to 14, they're not playing too much, and they're getting a lot of training before those games. So I feel like that's helped our development up here in the pitching side of it.
I can see that. I actually wish we did more. I wish we had a similar model here. I wish we trained more than we did, because some of the skills, it's such a skilled sport, and the skills have to be developed and coached and trained. I just feel like they just, athleticism is one thing, but then the skill part is also another thing. I know Mike Kendray, not Mike Kendray, Mike Stiff over at the Batbusters. They took 2 weeks off just to practice.
Yes.
And then he turns around and wins the Alliance tournament. You got to practice.
Yeah.
Just don't.
And the little kids, they're 10Us and 12Us, and they go out and they pitch 4 or 5 games, and they just have bad habits, and then they don't even get any practice time in. It's so there's no risk-free time for them. So.
Do you find that because softball is not Canada's national sport, is it?
No, hockey.
Hockey definitely is. Do you find what are the players playing other sports in the off season, or are they just training for softball and then playing, or are they going to other sports and then coming back? Or how's that work? for the most part?
I highly encourage kids to play all sports because basically I just want athletes. So,
Yeah.
right, so up here, a lot of our kids play volleyball and basketball and soccer and stuff. So a lot of the kids I coach are multi-sport athletes, and I highly encourage it. And most coaches here highly encourage it. There's some that don't, but as an overall thing, we try it because an athlete's an athlete's an athlete. So, and then once they get to be around 14, 15, 16, then they can specialize in their sport. Right.
How important has it been for some of the athletes in the past that have I'm sorry, how important has it been for some of the athletes that have played at the collegiate level in the States, played at the Olympic level after their collegiate careers or even during their collegiate careers, to come back and give back and teach and run clinics and run camps, and who have been some of those influential players that have been able to do that and help the game grow in Canada?
Well, in our area, we had two great ones, right? Danielle Laurie and Jen Sowling. Lauren Bay, right? We've had a lot of good players come out of BC, and if I'm missing anybody, I'm sorry. But I mean, like I have just those guys, their presence and their name and their popularity really give hope to a lot of my younger athletes, right? Because they all know who they are. So, and then we have our head coach, Kaylee Rafter, it's going to be great for our program, working in Florida State. So, we've got some really good role models in our game in Canada for our younger athletes to look at and to and I don't know about the clinics. I think Jen runs some clinics here when she's up here, and Danielle's just down in Seattle, so I think the opportunity for kids to see her is possible. So it's very important. It's very important.
That's good stuff. That's good. That's great. So now you do all this international. You were in Greece. You were in Italy. Obviously, the culture of the country, the culture of the people, have an influence on how they approach the game in a sense.
Yes.
So you've had an opportunity, and I noticed this just in the States. Like when I'm in America, there's a big difference between how softball is approached in New Jersey, and there's a huge difference in how softball is approached in the state of Connecticut.
Correct.
You know what I'm saying?
Yep.
And then so obviously, and then we're talking about like a two hour distance. So I can only imagine Greece, Italy, Venezuela, Canada, America. So I'm like eager to hear what are some of the differences in the way the game is approached. Because you have to. What makes you're the position that you're in is unique is that because you've seen different parts of the world and how they approach the game, and you got to coach them. You got to go in and you got to like kind of learn the culture before you can even coach in a sense.
Yeah, and the language.
Yeah.
And the language.
Yes, and so that's crazy. So I want to hear some of the things, stories, or just thoughts, or just how was that?
Well, my greatest experience has been Venezuela, and I'm not going to lie. Going into Venezuela and teaching there was the greatest experience of my life in softball for many different reasons. But so you go there, and at the time I arrived in Venezuela, which is 1999, the women's program was not really seen, right? It was like they were just, the men were everything, and they were kind of just, they were just a bunch of women playing softball, and I had slingshotters. I had 40-year-old women slingshotters on the national program, but and they gave me the job of cutting them, so it was a little bit tougher. But the things I noticed was, so Venezuela we're overtrained in North America. Like everything is just overtrained. There's so much overtraining where you went to Venezuela, they were hitting with sticks. The kids were just out on the playground playing with unstructured play. And the Venezuelans, and we all know in baseball or whatever, they have hands of gold. And
tell me about it.
They have hands of gold. They have hands of gold, right? They could transfer a ball between their legs and throw it before a lot of, at that time, my Canadian kids could pick it up and throw it, right? And it was just hands of gold. And it was fascinating to see how skilled they were without all this training, because the training helps. So once we got into the higher levels again, the training helped, but as the younger athletes, it was just nice to see them. They were hitting with sticks and they're hitting rocks and and stuff like that. So that was really cool to see that kind of thing. And they played for love. Their passion of the game is second to none that I've ever met, right? Like, they just play because it's their national sport. Baseball's their national sport. And then basically they went to the Olympics. The president fell in love with the team, and basically, now they're national heroes. And I think the greatest part for me was 2 kids were going to university when I arrived there, and then basically the whole team went to university in the States, and they all got jobs and careers and stuff like that. So that was Venezuela. Italy and Greece.
Before you go to Italy and Greece, I want to ask you something. So, and I'm make a comment too. When we played, we had an opportunity to play against Venezuela when I coached the Pride.
Yep.
That's the first time we met, and I was in awe at the infielders. I was like, I've never seen, male or female, I've never seen in person hands on infielders like that. It was the most. Well, I couldn't stop watching them. I just how you have the infield warm up. I was just watching them like, this is.
Yeah. Well, I had Ruby a la carte, which.
Yes. Ruby. Yeah. She's my favorite.
Ruby came to live with me when she was 14. Her and Mary Angie. So when I first went to Venezuela, Mary Angie and Ruby actually ended up. I don't know how their parents sent them, but they sent them to live with me, and they survived, so it was good. Wow. So we brought them up, and basically they trained here in Canada for a year, and I knew they were going to be stars from the day I saw them. Like, they were 13 years old and 14 years old when I met them in Venezuela.
Ruby's one of my favorites. Ruby's one of my favorites. I love the way she played the game.
Oh,
and we still keep in touch. We still keep in touch through IG. Yeah, she's one of those players that's just magical, and she was magical from 13 years old, like the things that she could do. She won the Canada Cup, because I started to bring the kids up to Canada Cup. She won the Canada Cup batting title. Again, that was U.S. was there, Australia was there. Susie Brasney was the catcher calling against this kid, and she won the batting title at 15 years old at the Canada Cup against the national teams. Yeah, and she was just outstanding. And I mean, and so were a lot of the kids. Like a lot of those players were really. They have the best hands. Yeah, they were
ever.
good. They were just good. And then another comment I wanted to make about the Venezuelan team. And I don't know who told me this. Did Miguel, because Miguel Cabrera is from Venezuela.
Yeah. Yes.
Now, is it true that his mom played softball?
That I don't know.
I heard that his mom played short for the Venezuelan national team years ago.
Probably before my time.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, it wouldn't have been good if I would have had to cut her.
I know, right?
No.
Miggy's mom? No way.
I was called the.
So from what I understand, and I have to verify this, but I don't know where I heard it, that his mom played shortstop, and she was a big influence on him as a baseball player because of her skill set, defensively and offensively.
Yeah.
And softball.
I wouldn't doubt it.
Yeah.
When you go to all the little kids, so when I show up at the park, they have school for baseball. So at 1:00, there's these little boys, and they're knee high to a grasshopper, and they're all out there playing baseball at 1 in the afternoon, and it's just what the country does.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just it's amazing to watch the love of the sport there. It's really fun.
So what was China like?
I didn't go to China.
Not China. What was Greece? Well, it's Greece and Italy, right?
Greece came here. Greece came here, so I worked with the Greece national team here with Jimmy Kalaitis. So Jimmy, Jimmy was the head coach, and he asked me to help him with the Greece national team. Just different. Their funding is different. They're more funded privately by a person than the government. So in Venezuela, the government took over and funded the national team. So they and a lot of their players, because softball is not a very big sport in Greece. So a lot of their players were actually American Greece citizens. So that way.
Okay.
But again, they're trying to get into the national. I think Tony's over there now. So Tony and Shan McDonald are overrunning the Greece national team now. Good. So good. Yeah. So.
And then you went to Italy.
I was in Italy in the Pro League, so I was working with the Pro League in Neuro. So that was a great living on an island in Italy as a job. It was good. And again, it's just the European softball is, again, it's not the same passion and love that the Latins have or the Americans have, but they're improving. Like they're bringing a lot more instructors in and trying to grow the game over there as well. So I see that Italy and Spain and those guys are bringing a lot of Venezuelans in actually for their pro leagues now.
Okay.
So the level of play I think will come up, and then that will probably help some of the younger ones get that pace of play a little bit more. So that was a great experience. It's again, there's after college, there's opportunity for the athletes to go travel a bit and play in those countries. Like Italy has a pro league, Netherlands I think has a pro league. I was asked right before COVID. I was asked to go and help in a pro league over there, and COVID happened, so I missed out on that opportunity. But maybe again will happen. But so there's lots of Germany has a pro league. So for athletes after college that don't move into the Olympic programs, there's opportunities to see the world through some of these pro leagues in softball.
It seems like when you go to the European countries, they're creating more opportunities for professional female athletes.
Yes.
And I'm imagining, and correct me if I'm wrong, that they're actually paying them enough money that they can maybe live.
They can live. It's not going to be a career maker. So
right.
They, but again, when you're just coming out of college and you want to live in Italy for 4 or 5 months, they give you a place to live. They give you a car. You play softball. You get a chance to travel around. So, it's doable. It's not going to be a career choice over there.
So you have had the opportunity to compete against Japan. And my mentor, my longtime mentor, who's still my mentor, and every time I talk to him, I feel really dumb when I get it from the table. He played Japanese professional baseball. And the Japanese, culturally, the way they approach everything, not just sports, is a lot different than the most of the world. What's your take on their sustained dominance? Like, what's your take on that? And they do things so much differently. Like, what do you? And I think, and they're not going to have the kind of athletes, and they're not going to have the kind of athletes that can dunk. They're not going to have these dunkers and these speed. They just. What is it? What do you think it is?
From what I've seen over the years, their work ethic is they just outwork everybody. I think they're training 6, 7, 8 hours a day, and our athletes would just break down in that system pretty much. They again, they're so crisp. Like when they don't make mistakes. Like a lot of times, like everything is so well drilled and executed. Like their execution is second to none in the game. They don't try to hit the big home runs all the time. Their approach is always, if you get out, you move a runner up 60 feet, right? And I feel like they are just very much a more team-based philosophy than individual-based philosophies, right? Like where the one person's trying to be the star. They just really work as a unit better than anybody in the world. And I love watching them. Like they are special. And, you know, and they keep for such a small country, they keep producing baseball and softball, some really amazing athletes, right? Like, you know, Ueno and Ichiro, and it doesn't matter, the baseball pitchers coming out of there, and they seem to be doing a lot of things right that I feel like I want to get over there and learn.
Me
right?
too.
Yeah.
Me too.
Yeah.
That's interesting. And I asked that because I wonder, you know, there's evolution, and then there's stagnation. There's you can get to a point where you can think that you have reached this level, but there's always another level.
Yep.
And if nothing else, countries like Japan should be pushing it, the rest of the world. It should push us in the rest of the world to want to be more, to just want to be better, to want to be more intuitive and more cerebral and work harder and be more focused and be more diligent. And I think you're right. You hit it on the nose with in terms of like what they do well. What they do well is what they do well. And if you stay in what you do well, I think you can just obviously do well.
Yeah. And then they also hire anything that could be a possible, you know, what's the word? I don't want to use the thing. But so if they're going to go to the Olympics, they hire the pitchers they're going to face to go to the Olympics. So they go over there and pitch against their kids for 3 or 4 months, right? So anybody that possibly they could shut them down, they hire them, and it's good for the game. But I mean, they give themselves the best chance to win too through their intelligence, right? So you know, when back in the day when Lisa was pitching and those guys, I mean, she was a force. You know, they would bring they would. So if your players get to see those best pitchers in the world all the time, your hitters get better, and they get better timing and rhythm with those pitchers, so that when the Olympic game is on, they're prepared.
Yeah, that's pretty smart. That's pretty smart. So now all this time you are doing the academy off and on during this time, or what? How's the academy thriving?
Academy's doing really well. So I retired from the.
While you were coaching, the academy was still going on.
Yeah, I ran a full-time government job. I ran my academy, and my government job allowed me to go off and coach national teams. So at that time, that was a little bit of a challenge. But I left in the summer months a lot, so it was never really during the winter months. So I could train the athletes in the winter months, and then come May or June, I would leave till September, and then come back and carry on with my government job and the athletes. So I did a lot of working around things at that time.
No, that's right.
And people were patient with me enough to stay with me at that time.
It's funny. Sometimes I look at my schedule, like when I look at my schedule, and like, okay, where I have to be, I'm looking at. I'm like, okay, I got to be here. I got to be here. I got to be here. Rob, you can't do this. Somehow I do it every year, but I'm like, I always remember myself saying, I'm not gonna be able to do this.
I don't know how I did that.
And then I'm like, how did I do that? How did I get through that? Like, but you get through it. So now the academy, like, what's the culture like in the West Coast Softball Academy? What's that like? Describe it to us. Is it big place, small place? A lot of pitching, less pitching? Is it baseball and softball? Is it softball only? Well, West Coast Softball Academy, so I'm assuming it's softball only. Is it weight training going on? Like, what are some of the what's going on in there?
So I've kind of downsized. So I used to do everything. I had a bigger 5,000 square foot facility. I downsized. I'm just in a small lane now. I just do the pitching part. So I used to have 8 employees. Now it's just me. So I retired from the government a couple years ago, So I basically just do 4 days a week. I just do the pitching part of it up here, run some clinics for my kids on the weekends, bringing in catching, bringing in pitching, just for support of the community. I would say it's a small, on my size, it's a small place. Like I think I have about 50 pitchers a week, and I'm happy. But it's fun, and you know what? It's giving the kids that love the game an opportunity to learn, and just kind of, it's a positive environment for all of them, and we just keep training and keep watching how they develop over the next 3, 4, 5 years.
You've seen pitching evolve. You've seen fast pitch evolve through the years.
Yeah.
You've probably seen 2 cycles, maybe more.
Yeah.
Because just so you know out there, everybody, there are cycles. And when you're doing something long enough, you will see the cycle go. And so that's how we always know what's getting ready to happen, because we know that it's a cycle. It's gonna come back around, right? So what are some of the things that you have seen? What are some of the things that we're faced with now in 2022 that are like starkly different than what we come from, for better or for worse, or both? Both, if you will.
Well, for better, I've seen a lot more movement experts start to take an interest in our sport, right? So like running coaches and strength coaches and just people there, not even in softball, which is, I feel, good for our game, because it's fresh eyes to just give us a movement perspective, right? Because I think we got stale, and we just used to do things that we used to do. And what we heard as a coach, we used to teach the same thing, but it's progressed so much now that, the knowledge is there to actually help the athletes. I feel like the athletes today have a much better chance of being greater, just through the knowledge coming through from many different sources. Strength training is becoming a big part now up here. Like, back in the day when the kids, not many kids went to the gym and added strength components to their thing. People are a little bit more open to the mental training side of it, right? Which I think is a huge part of it. And so at the international level, that's the difference between being on a national team and not being on a national team. The skill level's always the same. It's the ability to be able to handle that pressure and to be able to mentally work through that is the difference between who makes it and who doesn't. So I see the game is changing a lot in that way, and kind of things like that. But I also see there's there's too many games and not enough training now. I think, because the tournaments make big money, and kids are just being played, and a lot of them are just burnt out by the time they're 18. Where I didn't see that, 20 years ago.
Nah, you didn't see that. I think people are burnt out and they don't even know that. They don't even know they are.
Yeah.
They just walk. They're just going through seasons like zombies.
Yeah.
And they're just like, their eyes are just like their eyes have not blinked in months.
Yeah.
And they're just like going through it, the motions of it, and it would take a really, really someone who would be able to have this, a really, really I guess, insightful parent to say, okay, I'm going to shut my kid down for a fall.
Yeah.
Because she still has a whole 3/4 of her life to live after her softball career.
Correct.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. That's one of our parts. We shut our pitchers down. Like, I won't train with them pretty much September, October, right? Like I was gone all summer, but a lot of times I'll just shut them down for a month or two and just go be a kid, right? Don't worry about the game right now. Just go be a kid, right? And we forget that part. And I think that's what I hope one day that we learn to love the game, just to play the game like Venezuela. Like, that's what I hope to give to the athletes here, is that, like, when I was there, it's just pure love, right? They play out of pure love. Nobody's forcing them. They're just all there. And that's what I hope that in my coaching I can keep helping for them to feel here.
And that's one to grow on. And I think we have to love, right? So yeah, true love, and not just so many other reasons why people would want to play, and then it's not I don't think it's as gratifying.
No.
I don't think it's as gratifying.
When you coach athletes that truly love the game, it's life changing. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
And then the ones that, just are there because they feel like they have to be there. It's just a different vibe, right? And so when you play, that's why I love the game still today, is because of the Venezuelans. Like their passion and love is just it's life changing, and I hope that every athlete would get to feel that one day.
Yeah, that's great. That's great. Yeah. So you had the international play. You had the academy. So on the pitching side, are you employing any technology over at do you utilizing any technology or?
Yeah, we got Rapsoda. Rapsoda. I haven't got to the what's the 4D motion yet.
Not yet.
We're a small business. We got to be able to afford it. So.
You'll get there. You'll get there though.
Yeah, we'll get there. Yeah. So I know about all the technology.
Yeah.
I definitely support it 100%. Yeah. So
how has Rapsodo transformed you as a coach, and in turn benefited your athletes?
It definitely gives me the data that I'm looking for, the things that I couldn't see with my eye and stuff. And again, when the athletes can see their spin rates or their speeds or just, the things that it supplies them, my best athletes are in love with that thing. And it just keeps right. And it has helped them. So, and just being that information sent to them and they could see their numbers and always being able to improve on their numbers, like live data, really helps them.
How often do you break out something like that? How often do you break that out of the box?
I let them get into the season a little bit, and then or not the season, but our training thing. So I'll probably break that out once or twice a month.
Yeah. Right? Okay, that's a lot.
Some athletes. Some athletes want it like every week just for 10 or 15 minutes. Okay. So my better athlete, they want that data.
So you're using it as a training tool, not just an evaluation tool.
Yes.
Yeah, I think you got two. Yeah, and I'm glad you said that. I'm so glad you said that, because when you said twice a month, that's more than a lot of people are breaking out in a year. Just so you know.
Yeah.
Twice.
Yeah. Okay.
All right.
Yeah.
Really. Because I think some people are using it as, and it's fine. I think everybody's different. But I think as a true development person who's like really like all about development, you're gonna wanna have that constant feedback just to make sure that player has that spin rate on that particular pitch. Because then you know that if she's hitting the spot, hitting the spin rate for that pitch in that location and that velo, then she's where she needs to be mechanically. And if she's not, then you got to go look at why.
Yep.
And I think you could also I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
And I was going to say, you could also get a sense of fatigue as well.
Yes.
So, you know what I mean?
We shut the speed down after 15 pitches. So we'll do 15 pitches on just the velo. And then if it drops by, I think 2% or something, we just shut it down. So then the velo doesn't matter. And then basically it's then just the spin rate we're looking at and things like that. And when I was away in the summer, and I sent the machine home actually with my best my pitcher who basically, that's important to her. And so I just sent the machine home with her so she could have that data for herself.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Nice. That's good.
Yeah.
That's good. So, and then you have the other coaches who will do it like as an assessment tool. Like, I'm going to bring it out 4 times a year, quarterly, just to see if what we're doing, how it's affecting you. Okay, here's what we got this quarter. Here's what we got that quarter. Here's what we got that, and it's 4 times a year, which is good too. Or a college program might bring it out when the kids get home from the summer, when they get back in January, just to kind of let's see where we are, and then they'll have their baseline. So if God forbid someone ever gets hurt, you will never have to guess if they're ready to return to play. You always know what to go back to. You always know where they need to be. And I think that those are good strategies to employ. But I think a lot of people struggle. So how long have you had Rapsoda?
3 years.
Oh yeah, so
3 or 4 years.
Oh yeah, so you're familiar with it. It's like, and sometimes it takes a while, and I always encourage people to like, hey, just learn to just stay with two things for a while.
Yeah.
And then after a while, add a third thing.
Yeah, and again, it's not for every athlete. It's like it. Sometimes you have to. Like the younger athletes is not as important as my older athletes that are needing that feedback. So,
right. So it's funny because last night I had a player, it was their first time in, and when somebody's in for the first time, I usually do some type of evaluation and get some type of numbers, right? So we did some diamond kinetic swing tracker stuff, and she wanted to see it, and I was like, this is just for me. Like, don't worry about it. Well, was it good? I mean, it can't be good, it can't be bad. It's just where you are.
Yeah, exactly.
There's no good and bad, because then you start getting into, well, her numbers are a bit higher than my numbers. That doesn't mean that's better.
No.
Nope. So
you are where you're at.
You are where you are, right?
The job you are where you're at, and our job is to improve on that.
That's exactly right.
Yeah.
So what's next? What you got coming up down the pipe for West Coast for Coach Kim Wright and what's going on?
Well, I'm excited to have my first Power 5 pitcher go somewhere. I'm not sure where she's going yet, but I'm excited to.
Yeah, she's going somewhere, Power 5. That kid is special.
I'm excited to have a first student to get there and go and watch her play a lot in the next 3 or 4 years.
Yeah.
I'm excited to develop some more of those pitchers in the future. Mm-hmm. I don't know. Like being retired, I've taken up golf. So I'm excited to get I'm going to be using the video technology on myself to help me with my golf game.
That's great.
So, a little bit more work-life balance, I think, so that I can stay fresh for my athletes. Mm-hmm. But just continuing on the path of. I truly believe that I need to stay updated and have knowledge not fed to me, but I need knowledge to stay alive in this game. So just out searching and talking the game with people like yourself and many of the coaches in the game, that gives me energy to then go back and have energy for my athletes. So, just continuing to grow, I think is really important for me.
And that's the mark of a master coach.
Yeah.
The master teacher is always seeking to grow.
Yeah, I never want to stop.
Yeah, that's the mark right there. And I think who we feed off of. I think I'm the same way. I have certain individuals that I like to talk to on an ongoing basis. That the whole iron sharpens iron thing.
Yeah.
That's important to me as well. That energy, I need that.
Totally, and it could be the younger pitching coaches and the older pitching coaches. I think there's knowledge in everybody. And,
absolutely.
And the day we stop trying to learn is we only just do a disservice to our athletes. So for me, it's like the more I grow, like I'm older, the more I get the opportunity to grow. It's better for my athletes, and it keeps me alive and well for them.
Yeah. So, are you going to be? Are you going to come to? Having a convention this year in San Antonio. Are you going to make that trip?
Is that in December?
Yep.
Maybe.
Well, if you're there, we will definitely have a glass of water together or something.
Well, I'm back in the New York area in October long weekend.
So before that, then we could do something. When? What long weekend?
I'm back Thanksgiving weekend.
Oh, November.
I'm going to be back in the Philly, New York area in
November. You mean? Okay, so maybe we get together around then, we'll figure something out.
Yeah,
we'll figure something
out.
And
I look forward to possibly getting you to come.
Oh, I'm coming. I'm working on all that other stuff, and then we're going to get there.
Yeah,
we're gonna get. Wasn't there like some kind of like gigantic indoor water park in the mall or something in over
that's
there?
in Edmonton. Yeah.
How far is Edmonton? How far is
It's
Edmonton from
cold
there?
over there.
It's cold.
Yeah,
Oh, God.
that's 12 hours.
I'll forget it then. Forget it.
We'll take you up to Whistler and put you on an inner tube down a mountain.
Oh God! I got life insurance. I gotta beef up my life insurance. Oh goodness! All right. So, if my people that are out here listening to this podcast would like to follow you, reach out, shoot you an email, stalk you, how would they go about doing that? How would they get in touch?
Instagram is West Coast Softball. I think it's West Coast _softball_ or Coach Kim at tellus.net.
Okay.
Is my email.
That's the email. And you just Instagram, or you got any Twitter thing going on, or what? Not yet.
I have a Twitter. No, I have a Twitter because my players tagged it. I think it's at Coach Kim 55.
Okay,
at Coach Kim 55. Yeah, I'm not that.
It's all right because when I post this podcast to the internet, I'm going to tag you on all your channels, and then you can just retweet it, and then my people will know how to find you just based on that. And I'm also going to have your contact information in the show notes as well. So anybody out there, you don't have to worry about writing it down as you're listening. Just go ahead and go into the show notes. You can click on the link and follow her right from your phones or whatever device you're listening to. We're going to be broadcasting this on Spotify in video form, as well as audio form, and Apple Podcasts, and however you consume your podcast, they can find the podcast.
Nice.
All right, and I will let you know obviously when it's live, so you can check it out and see how you sound on the airwaves.
I'm a little worried.
Coach, this has been a long time coming. And I'm so glad we found the time to do it. And I'm looking forward to us doing another one as well. And I'm also looking forward to seeing you in person as well. So, again, thank you so much for coming on the show. And we will catch up soon.
It's been nice to reconnect with you, Rob. You've always been one of my heroes.
All right. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
We'll talk soon.
Okay. Thank you, Rob.
All right. So I just ended the recording. So that's doing what it does. That? I think it was great. I think it was a great.
If not, we can do it again.
Nah, this. I mean, we can do it again too. But like, I thought we mission accomplished. We got. It seemed like it was more like an interview because I wanted. There were so many things that I wanted to know that I didn't know. But I do want to have you back because I want to go into like some of your teaching techniques and whatever you're comfortable with sharing in terms of like. Spin, how what are you prioritizing, velocity and spin? There's certain things I like to ask pitching coaches, specifically when I have them on the show. But
yeah, I've seen your Rick. I follow Rick too. I talk to Rick quite a bit, and I like his work as well.
Yeah, he's on the tech side, especially. He has a lot of data.
Yes.
So over the years, so in terms of like pitchers that are this height, this age, pitchers that have this type of a wingspan from thumb to pinky, pitchers with this length of arm,
Yeah.
He has a lot of data.
Yeah.
So he has Excel spreadsheets spanning over years, and he can show you from a 13-year-old to an 18-year-old hundreds of kids, spin rates and velocities and movement patterns, and who has that?
Nobody. That's
what I'm saying. Yeah. No one has that. So I think that's important because if we're going to say, like, for example, even with Madison, right? If we're going to say, and I was going to hit, and it's actually still recording. I'm glad because I might want to use this. Like, if we're going to say that, like, your player Madison, for example, has this velo, right? And this is what's her spin rate on that velo? And if her best pitch is a rise ball, what's the velo of that rise ball and what's the spin rate of that rise ball? Now we know that the players that are doing exceptionally well are putting up similar spin rates with velos. Now we know where a 12-year-old needs to want to go.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Yeah. Because without the data, we're just eyeballing it.
Yes.
And we're guessing.
Yeah.
We're guessing it Because on the hitting side, I already know if you're just from 4D motion, like if your pelvic speed is too fast, the other segments that follow the pelvis, i.e. chest, arm, and back, can't pick up speed and gains. The speed gains can't be efficient enough so that the bat would be fast enough. So the pelvic control is crucial, because if the pelvis is moving at a certain speed, the chest can pick up on that speed, the arm can pick up on that speed, and then the bat can pick up on that speed. So, and then if the spine is not stable, 85% or higher spine stability, you're not going to be able to get that rotational acceleration either. So there's certain things that all the best hitters are doing that I know this is what's happening. So like now I got to get all my other kids to be able to do that, because I already know what the best are doing in terms of like the biomechanics and the measurements.
Right. And that's what I'm hoping to learn from you, is come in and work on that 4D motion to really, because pitching is hitting. It
absolutely is. It absolutely is.
Basically, we have to run out, land, and hit.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So like, I mean, the data and the information that you have is crucial to our pitching as well.
And I think being able to take the technology and go beyond grading athletes, because it's phenomenal that we can grade them. But how do I get my C students to become B students and my B students to become A students? And then how do I get my A students to have sustained success, sustained growth, or even just stay? And as the levels go up, they go up and improve. So, but the differences that I'm noticing between the pitching and the hitting, and I'm finding, is that pitching is more of a repeatable. We're repeating a movement more so.
True.
And hitting, we're varying movement.
Yes.
Because you have different locations and because the pitcher is going to control the variable.
Yeah.
So I have to be able to ascertain what are some of the common denominators that I look for in a swing, and then what are some of the things that, when path of the bat and plane of the bat has to change, what are we giving away in return? What's the trade-off?
Right. Yep.
And that's the hard part about making technology work for hitting.
Yeah, because it changes all the time.
Right. So golf is repeatable, right? It makes sense. Pitching, repeatable, it makes sense. Hitting doesn't always make sense. It's very, 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 very hard.
That's a very, very, very good point.
When you look at it like that, and I think that's where it's very difficult to find people who are like tech nerds and who know the game. So usually they know the game or they know the tech.
Right.
But we need to have both. We need both.
And that's where I'm going more. I know the game, and I'm trying to grow more on the tech side.
Yeah, and I think
that's where I'm going.
And when we talk about growth, I mean that's where there's so much room for growth. And part of my mission right now is for to help softball take tech more seriously, because we can get our kids so much better, so much faster.
Yeah, baseball's been doing it for a long time.
Yeah, they're at a certain level that I think we need to kind of like, and I think I don't know if we're getting there. I want us to, but I think it starts with just the conversation we're having is a start. Yeah. We need to have more conversations, and it needs to trickle down, and people need to, beyond like having a sensor on your bat is not this. It's not an accessory. It's not like a purse. It's not an accessory. Like it's like that. Those numbers matter. Like to go back and look at them.
How they read and how those numbers are taught and how it works for them.
Right. So I'm just excited about everything. This is a great time to be alive. It's a great time to be teaching. It's just a great time. I'm fired up.
Oh, we have so much like for 20 years ago, like a lot of it we were guessing. Right, like it was guessing, and we were.
But they were good guesses. They were good guesses, though.
We were pretty good. We were pretty good at guessing.
We were good guesses. Yeah.
We're still winning.
Right.
We can now show them we're not guessing.
Yeah. Right.
Hey.
Right.
This is the data. Yeah.
But I think, it's funny because I was talking to somebody the other night. One of my mentees called me last night. She's coaching on the West Coast. So she called me at like midnight. So it was 9:00 her time. I'm like, is everything okay? And she's like, yeah, it's just late over there. It's not late over here. so we're talking, and I'm like, look, I said, sometimes, you're going to get this data, and it's going to tell you how you should be teaching that player differently than you should be teaching that player.
Yeah.
Because it's going to give you a profile of how that player needs to move. You don't have time to change that for an 18-year-old in college, a 19-year-old in college.
Correct.
You have to be able to work with her within her natural instinctive movement patterns.
Yep.
And if you can't, because the time you're going to try to spend teaching her or reteaching her, she may not be able to perform the way you need her to perform. It's a really risky thing.
We're seeing that at the younger level too. Like everybody has their style, but the athlete can't move in that style. Right? Like we're trying to put them in a box of like, this is how you have to move, right? Versus like, let's see how you move and then try to put the pieces back. In order.
So coaching becomes service. Like, and this is my big thing right now. Coaching is literally service.
Yeah.
Like, how can I help you when they come in?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Like we're waiters and waitresses. How can I help you?
Yep.
Because I have to find out what you need, so that I can give you what you need, not what I want you to have. I can't. You don't walk into a restaurant and tell you, I want you to eat this. Sit down. I want you to eat this, and you better like it. Like, what is that?
That's a great analogy.
Because that's what a lot of coaches do.
Yeah.
Are you kidding me? I don't even like that. I haven't eaten that in my entire life. That's disgusting. It's gross.
I hate liver.
Right.
I hate liver.
So let's first find out what they need from us, and there may be some things that we want to change, but we find out what they like. Oh, you like salads? Well, we'll make you a nice salad, and I'll just add a few things that I think would benefit you in the salad that you already like. Instead of saying, forget the salad, you're going to eat this raw beef, right? Whatever, because I'm the coach and I said so. So now coach isn't a title anymore. Coach is an action word.
Yep.
It's a verb.
And that's what's happening.
I think that's, the master coach has to be able to, because buy-in is a two-way street.
Yes.
Buy-in is a two-way street. Buy-in is not just you buying to me. That's it, because I'm the coach and I'm the king. And bow your heads to the king. All hail King Coach Rob Cruz. No, it's a two-way street. I'm buying into you when you come in that door.
Yeah.
And then you're buying into me.
I learned that lesson big time in Venezuela, like, because you go in there and you think that we have all the technology and all the knowledge and stuff. Yep. And I went in there and I learned more from them than I'm pretty sure they did from me. They're like, no, we don't do that. We don't do that, Kim. I'm like, okay. Like, and I learned to let them teach me how they did things, and then just made some adjustments to the overall part, like the small adjustments to help in the game winning stuff. They already knew how to do the stuff.
That's leadership.
Yeah.
But you had to be secure enough to be able to do that.
Yeah. They taught me a lot. Like, again, because the biggest thing is they have players. They just don't have pitching.
Right.
And, and then they just don't get to see the top pitchers in the world enough to be able to, be good at that, because they can swing. They can swing it. They just don't have enough repetition to make that visual connection.
That's so right? Cool. And I think I worked with them on some. I think did we do vision with Venezuela?
I think so.
Yeah, we spent some time with the Venezuelan team on some vision stuff, and I thought that was helpful. But again, to your point, those were the visual mechanics that we covered. Stop it. Those were the visual mechanics that we covered, but you still need to get in there. Yeah. Because the best training is being in there.
Yeah.
and creating the files. Yeah.
Yeah, and they became good and made it to the Olympics like when they were in their 22 to 25 age, right? Like they had got enough experience and they were able to mentally process better and be able to become better just at bats and stuff and make better decisions and that's just through experience like baseball, right? The young players, they make the mistakes and they get a chance to learn, and as the better players are usually that older set just due to going through it, right?
Yep.
Yeah. So
that's great.
Yeah, cool. I'm off to the gym today.
All right, we'll go get some work. Get your workout in. I'm just like I'm so fired up. I want to edit this thing right so fast, but I'm gonna probably. My goal is to publish it on Sunday morning because I feel like Sunday mornings people wake up, and they'll have that time.
Yeah.
Kind of like softball church.
Yeah, edit it good so it makes it maybe sound like I at least know what I'm talking about.
All right, so I appreciate you.
Yeah, I appreciate.
What's up, everybody? This is Rob Cruz, and I'm going to let you know how you can get 15% off any purchases you make at diamondkinetics.com. Whether it's the DK Swing Tracker for baseball or softball, or the DK Pitch Tracker for baseball or softball, you will get 15% off by using the promo code Rob Cruz. That's ROBCREWS at checkout. Check out diamondkinetics.com and get your 15% off today.